Hi,
Hi.
everyone. Good morning, afternoon, or evening. Thank you for joining us, wherever in the world you are. Welcome to this Fireside chat on supercharging test automation, tackling Selenium's toughest challenges with Selenic's AI powered tools. We have with us today, as panelists, industry thought leaders from Moritech and Parasoft. Today's discussion will revolve around how Selenium gets more powerful and efficient using AI powered tool from Selenic. We are streaming live on YouTube and you will find the link in the chat window. Please feel free to share it with your professional networks. While we wait for some more guests to join, let us watch this insightful IQ capabilities video. Can we have the video, please?
In today's fast-paced IT development landscape, ensuring reliable and scalable test automation is more crucial than ever to maintain quality, accelerate delivery, and stay ahead of the competition. However, challenges with Selenium test automation, such as flaky tests, high test maintenance overhead, scalability issues, and limited test coverage insights, can hinder progress. Moritech's Intelligent Quality Engineering Center of Excellence provides end-to-end services for continuous test automation. By collaborating with Parasoft, we leverage AI to enhance Selenium test automation and address these challenges. Parasoft's Selenic addresses the problems of flaky tests, brittle scripts, and maintenance issues. Our IQE COE utilizes Selenic's AI-powered tools to self-heal test scripts and provide smarter test impact analysis, boosting both the efficiency and effectiveness of your automation efforts. And seamlessly integrate Selenic into your CI/CD pipeline and accelerate your release cycles with accuracy. Take your Selenium test automation to the next level with AI-powered solutions.
Thank you for your patience and cooperation. Hi again, I'm Shafali Lunia, Senior Marketing Analyst, your host for today's virtual session. To set the context, we anticipate this fireside chat to be an interactive session where we discuss strategies for addressing the complexities of Selenium automation and explore the capabilities of Selenic's AI-driven tools. I have a quick and very exciting announcement to make before we start with the session. All attendees are eligible for a complimentary no-obligation test automation assessment and consultation session from a Mauritech AI test architect. Also, you can gain access to Parasoft's Selenic trial version along with the product demonstration. To make the fireside chat more engaging, we have organized certain poll rounds. We would appreciate 100% participation for the same. Before we begin, it is my pleasure to introduce our panel for today. We have Donato Puttini, Enterprise Sales Director at Parasoft. Donato leads customer accounts across the United States, Canada, and Latin America, bringing a strong foundation in software development and performance management. Starting his career as a developer, he advanced to lead a performance testing team, gaining in-depth expertise in SDLC processes, test automation, and application performance management. Over the past decade, Renato has partnered with large enterprise clients as an account executive, delivering high-quality, automation-driven solutions that enhance business value and foster continuous improvement in software development and outcomes. We welcome you, Renato.
Thanks, Shafali, and hi, everyone. Thanks for joining us. I hope this will be an exciting and interesting conversation for everybody.
We also have with us Praveen Kumar Vibhuti, Senior Manager, IQE at Mauritech. Praveen is a passionate leader with a rich background in software testing, artificial intelligence, business analysis, and diverse domain expertise. With extensive experience as a test manager, automation architect, and business analyst, he has been instrumental in driving quality and innovation across multiple industries through successful project leadership. A strong advocate for continuous improvement, Praveen is dedicated to achieving high performance and excellence in every project. He excels at leading cross-functional teams, establishing continuous integration, continuous deployment, CI/CD pipelines, and fostering collaboration between development and QA teams. Thank you, Praveen and Renato, for joining us. I appreciate your interest in being a part of today's forum.
Thank you, Shefali. Glad to be part of here. And hello, everyone. We try to make this event more exciting. And thank you for all your time.
Okay, we are all set now. My first question is for you, Praveen. What are the biggest challenges that teams typically face when using Selenium for test automation?
Sure. Uh, Thank you all again for joining this, and I'm glad to be part of this exciting Fireside Chat event. And coming to the question, Selenium being one of the most popular open source test automation tool widely being used. With close to 2 decades of the journey, most of the web automations have been achieved using Selenium. However, we have certain limitations and challenges with the Selenium test automation. One of the major challenge with Selenium is maintaining the test stability, especially when your tests are prone to become more flaky. When I say more flakiness, there is a possibility of your test being failed because of your located changes or your elements not loading on time. The next major challenge with the Selenium automation is maintaining test scripts. So when your application UI is undergoing a lot of changes, there is equal amount of time that test automation engineers would spend in fixing those located changes or any UI elements that are changing. This increases the overhead maintenance of the scripts. Moving on, Selenium also has some limitations on cross-browser compatibility testing. So most of you have known that if you have developed an automation script of any web application and that application is intended to run on multiple browsers, most of the times test might fail in one browser, whereas it passes on the other browser. Reason could be your Java runtime exception errors or your loading elements of it. But however, there is a problem of having a consistent success ratio across the browsers. Moving on, Selenium also has a limited support for your mobile application development. You need to have plugins like Appium to integrate your code and then run things. Unlike it also has a limitation on your Windows-based application. You also need to plug in tools like or plugins like WinApp Driver, where you can automate up to some extent. Last but not the least, Selenium by itself doesn't have any built-in reporting mechanism. You have to build a custom report or extend reports wherein your dashboards or reporting structure can be met. Having said that, still Selenium has been widely used, but to overcome these challenges, it is a high time to have AI-based integrations or having Selenic kind of a tool integrated to overcome all these challenges.
Thank you, Praveen. Thanks for highlighting the challenges. Renato, while Praveen talked about the trickiest challenges of Selenium testing, can you give us a brief overview of what Selenic is and how it complements Selenium?
Sure, Shafali. So Selenic is like an AI-powered solution for test automation that works as an add-on to Selenium, right? So people already using Selenium can greatly benefit from that because it just gets in their process without changing it, just making it better. Like Praveen did a great job highlighting a lot of these challenges people have with Selenium, like the flaky tests or changing locators or fluctuation in how long it takes for pages to load. And these are the things we address with Selenic. And we do that without making Selenium proprietary, because as Praveen highlighted, one of the great benefits of using Selenium is that you're adopting an open source tool, right? So there's no vendor lock-in. And at Pearsoft, we prize that a lot in that context where we didn't want to make Selenium proprietary or come in with a proprietary tool for that case. So we did add a few things. We added browser recording to accelerate the speed at which a test automation engineer or even a non-technical person can create the automation. This way you can like give a productivity boost to the test team, the engineers and people involved in test. We help fix these broken locators and fluctuating pages and flaky tests by execution time self-healing, right? And we also address a bit of the reporting issue because we will provide much more robust reporting with some visual helps there, like screenshots and detailed problems and stuff like that. So people can have a much better experience while using Selenium.
Thank you, Renato, for your informative overview of Selenic's capabilities and its impact. Well, this increases my curiosity to know more about Selenic. Renato, would you please explain us what specific pain points in Selenium testing does Selenic aim to solve?
Sure, sure. So to elaborate a little bit more, right? Let's look at it as a journey, the whole black box testing journey that usually starts with a kind of a segregation between manual testers and automation engineers, right? They're usually different teams. Sometimes the manual testers are business analysts or somebody with the product team, development team, while people doing automation often work on a center of excellence model. They're a centralized team, and often there's a difference where the person who knows the business and does the manual testing, it's not the same person doing the automation, because that person is technical and capable of coding, but not necessarily will know the business. So we try to bridge that gap by offering the non-technical testers, or even the technical people, the ability to record their manual testing, right? So you start right there. As you're doing manual testing, or even if you have some other legacy proprietary automation testing tool that's running the web regression, we can record that. And through that recording now, somebody can open Selenium with Selenic on top and import the recording that's going to create the script for them. And that's going to create a page object model with all the locators. So it becomes very readable, very easy to understand, and it just accelerates the automation. So I think that's the first step, right? It's that recorder and that integration between the non-technical and the technical tester roles. Moving on to the test automation engineer in particular. So it's that person, instead of now wasting minutes or hours inspecting a web page, finding locators one by one, putting them in the code, right? So now we took care of that. And it's our experience speaking with our enterprise customers that most large enterprises are struggling to find enough skilled test automation engineers. So with this boost in productivity, usually we see it about 4 times faster, right? That means now they can probably take care of all their automation needs with a team of a reasonable size of test automation engineers who will be highly skilled and focus on the more challenging aspects of the automation, not the basics. If we then now move on to a third step, right? This is where we have the execution of the test. And now as we execute, Selenic will monitor the regression execution. And if the script's about to fail, it intervenes. That's where the self-healing, the AI-powered self-healing gets in, because we learn the application behavior from a first successful execution. And the more we learn, the better it gets. So now when it's executing and the script fails to identify a button or a text field or a radio button, a checkbox, whatever, Selenic will, by heuristics and by approximation, find that object on the page, redirect the script to the right object, and right, that's the self-healing. And so the script keeps executing and doesn't fail. What we see, it's usually people who have a success rate executing regression, maybe 50, 60, 70%, get that over 80, 90% often, without having to do a lot of maintenance on the scripts before they can even run the regression. So that's primarily the third. In the end, what you're looking for, it's a much higher successful rate, right? And a lot less downtime. And to finish, I mean, it's the reporting. When you're running that in parallel, you're trying to collect all that. And that's for like more mature practices already that have a high level of automation, where we can tell them by mapping the automation scripts with the application under test source code, we can tell which scripts are touching which pieces of the application code. And now we are able to tell them, hey, you might have 2,500 scripts here, but based on the changes in this build compared to the previous build or the previous release, actually you only need to look at these 120 or these 30. This is what you got to look at. This is what you need to maintain. This is what you need to execute to validate the changes. And now we're talking about shifting left, because instead of running a very large regression that might take days, right? You're going to be running a subset of that regression that maybe runs in less than an hour, which empowers you to do that every day or as often as you want, and give that feedback to the team as early as possible in the development cycle.
Oh, that's awesome, Renato. How Selenic enhances Selenium testing efficiently. Praveen, my next question is for you. Can you throw some light on how does Selenic use AI to handle flaky tests, which are a common issue in Selenium-based automation?
Sure, Shafali. So let me put this with a scenario map. So most of the automation engineers who are working on the web applications, so they do these practices. One, they locate the objects with their properties. They put some static wait time, assuming that the page overall will respond in like particular number of seconds. And if there are animations within the page, it takes a little longer time. So there is a calculative wait time that an engineer does it, number one. Number two, there is a possibility that the rendering of the page can differ from one page to other within the application. So they do other calculations. Number three, what they also do is they try to locate the objects based on the properties. And once the object properties are all read, they run the automation suite. Now, here come the challenges. If automation suite starts running on it, and if you see the objects are not loaded, the page is not responsive, or your certain elements are not loaded properly, your test tends to fail. But integrating Selenic with which AI benefits to the Selenium automation, what the miracle that is does is moving from static wait to it goes for an explicit wait, meaning Selenic will ensure that automation script will wait until the complete page or your animation video or an object loads properly, and then it ensures the automation is run. By this, it stops your false breaking of your automation script. Second, the self-healing capability of what Selenic has, it fixes the dynamic runtime issues. If there are any located changes, as what Renato mentioning it, there was supposed to be an object right here, but due to some UI changes, the object has changed to some other location, but the overall property has not changed. So this kind of dynamic fixes can be possible using Selenic AI. Third, Selenic AI also captures the root cause analysis. As it runs multiple iterations, it captures your root cause analysis, and then it conducts a predictive analysis, meaning why this tests are failing very frequently. Is it because the API services are not are up and running as expected, or if the loading of the objects are taking a little longer time? So irrespective whether the services issue, irrespective whether you have the objects loading abnormally, all these dynamical fixes can be handled when you use Selenic AI. But if you don't use it, it has always, you tend to get a failure results on it. Next, based on this AI root cause analysis, there is always a report that is directed to your developers as well as the automation engineers. Meaning if a developer has to constantly verify whether the services are frequently going up and down and there's kind of abnormality, they can start looking into it. And even automation engineers, when they start coding it, they can consider the kind of this informative messages which Selenic AI is helping you with. And over a period of time, Selenic AI gets more matured, and whatever it could fix dynamically, it handles on its own. And whatever needs to be fixed by the automation engineer, it gives a detailed report. And that report is customized and it grows to the granular level. It captures test by test, element by element, and then it can help you in expediting the overall process. So the problems that I was identifying are the common problems that every automation engineer sees in the web applications. And Selenic AI promises to resolve most of them by dynamically healing or giving appropriate solutions to the automation engineers.
Thanks, Praveen. Thanks a lot. I'm sure your answer will be very helpful for our attendees. Now, Having talked about the introduction of Selenic, an AI-powered tool which helps in Selenium automation testing and identifying the pain points, and to overcome these, we have reached to the end of our first round. Coming back to the discussion, Renato, regarding Selenic's features, how does Selenic's AI help optimize tests?
Well, it's all about where we can remove bottlenecks, right? I think in the poll just now, I mean, there were questions about how people handle multiple browsers, what's their preferred way of reducing the execution time. So these are all valid concerns. It's very common that people are trying to address these challenges. And what we aim to do here is to put a few more tools in their toolboxes, giving them different ways, AI-based ways, visual aids to address some of those challenges. So the first one, like I mentioned before, it's a typical bottleneck. It's the workload on test automation engineers, right? And to share a story here, I work with a bank in South America where they were maxed out on how much their test automation engineers could handle. And initially, the ask was, hey, we're going to have to double this team in order to keep up with the demand. There's this huge backlog. The only way we can do that is by doubling our team. I mean, needless to say, with the economy as is in general, they were shut down. Like, oh no, there's no way we can afford to just double the team. And that's when we started talking to them and brought Selenica to play. And just that way, you now can record the scripts and save all that time inspecting pages, getting locators and stuff like that. Their current team of test automation engineers, without needing to do any sort of overtime, was able to handle way more demands than they could before, right? Just by having that recording coming to them or doing it, right? Just as the same thing, but second thing was like by monitoring the execution now, when you execute the scripts, even locally on the desktop, right? It starts telling them as it learns from multiple runs of the application, it goes, oh, look, even like on the pre-existing scripts, right? It's the locator you're using here to find this text field, it's not stable. There's a better locator. You should consider changing that locator for this locator that's more stable. So this way you need less maintenance. So that one compounds slowly over time as you do those fixes, and Selenic can help you with the fixes, even taking you to the exact line of code or the exact point in the page object model where you need to make that change and say, do you want me to change that for you? And it does a replacement, right? The other thing where it also saves time is like after you run a very large regression on an enterprise application, there might be hundreds of things to analyze now. Are they bugs? Are they failures in the automation? So with Selenic, we provide a very easy to read execution report. It's going to tell you how many of your test cases passed, how many of them were healed, how many actually failed. Whenever there was a self-healing happening or a failure happening, it's going to take a screenshot, right? So it's going to easily point out, okay, this is where the failure happened, right? Highlighting the object, or maybe couldn't find the object, maybe the page didn't load. They're going to have that information in there, right? Which goes to a lot of what Praveen mentioned before about the flakiness, about the instability of the application under test. Sometimes it takes, depending on the browser or the environment, a page that loads in 0.2 seconds one day might take half a second the next day. And if you're going to put static weights everywhere on your script, and you do that hundreds of times, in the end, your execution will take a lot longer, right? So Selenic will put dynamic weights, variable weights. So if today your environment's lower, or that, let's say, I don't know, Safari, it's lower than Edge, you can still handle that. And then finally, as I mentioned before, for mature teams that have hundreds or thousands of automated scripts, that test impact analysis capability, whereas it looks at the coverage of your scripts against the source code, and now it tells you, hey, before you run the regression today or tomorrow or next week, these are the scripts that touch the changes. So likely they will be impacted by changes in the application. And that's the small subset your team has to focus on maintaining before you run the regression. So this way it won't fail, right? Because otherwise teams won't know. Like typically the test teams or teams executing tests, they will not know what's going to break because development often won't tell them everything that's changing on every page of an application, right? But this way they'll know or have a very good indication at least.
Thank you, Renato, for educating all of us with Selenic's AI features. Let's dive into the integrations with existing tools and workflows. My next question is for you, Praveen. How does Selenic integrate with popular CI/CD pipelines, and what benefits does this bring to test automation teams?
Sure, Shafali. So as most of us are familiar that CI/CD is a common in your test automation, and it varies from customer to customer, wherein if you're talking about a tier one large scale customers, your CI/CD pipeline runs every couple hours, and certain customers couple days too. When there are basic issues with your Selenium test automation, like your flakiness or your elements not found and your tests are failing abrupt intermittently, and running them in CI/CD will always be a challenge. The possibility of failures are more than your success. So by integrating Selenic with Selenium, it builds an advantage on top of it. Selenic, it can easily be integrated to popular tools like Jenkins, Bamboo, and Circle CI. By integrating Selenic with Selenium in terms of CI/CD, what benefits any automation team gets are, first and foremost, handling the flakiness, fixing the dynamic issues can help you, the CI/CD pipeline, not to fail because of the locator issues or any application services are down. So your CI/CD pipeline can run through without any issues. If there are real application issues, yes, the test has to fail and the concerned developer and team has to work on it. But for your false things, the test doesn't need to fail on it. Number one. Number two, Selenic can also integrate with your Azure DevOps and GitLab also. So based on the nature of your application stack, you can choose Selenic and then integrate with any of the popular tools. The most important element of the CI/CD is running the things in parallel. So a lot of automation engineers run their executions in parallel. And then if one of the parallel run has any flakiness issues, it abruptly ends on it. But having Selenic AI, it can handle parallel execution, monitoring it. Wherever there is a dynamic fix that needs to be made, Selenic AI ensures that it's taken care, and it ensures your smooth success at the end of the result. And most common, what we observe is a lot of automation team puts a nightly batch, wherein large set of suites, your regression suite, and will be run once the commit has been made from the developer. And when you come in the morning, you see, if you're fortunate enough, you'll see all success. If not, a lot of failures. When Selenic AI is integrated, as I mentioned, the flakiness issues or the locators issues or your web services up and down issues, all those kind of things can be handled diligently and you get a success report. And as Renato was mentioning it, the kind of report that Selenic handles and gives you is, okay, these are the tests that has passed with no issues. These are the tests that have been dynamically fixed. These are the tests that have been fixed because of the flakiness. So you get each and every report, and that report can be pipelined in your CI/CD. Last but not the least, Selenic also has an auto report triggering mechanism where it compiles the entire report, and based on the configuration, it can send to the right audience. If there are showstopper issues and developer has to get that report, yes, they get that source of information. And automation engineers can get the report on, okay, how did the test go? What kind of errors that are coming and what kind of issues they need to fix it in the next day. So all this can be comfortably achieved in a CI/CD pipeline, irrespective whether you're running on a small scale or on a larger scale, because in today's digital and agile world, every customer is insisting on to have a very frequent releases, and no manual automation engineers can really handle those kind of tracking to that bottom level. But definitely having AI in place can smoothen your journey.
Thanks, Praveen. It's really impressive the way Selenic can be seamlessly integrated. Following up on that, I have another question for you, Renato. How seamless is the transition for teams that are already using Selenium but looking to enhance their test automation with Selenic?
Well, we have an excellent team of engineers at Pearsoft, and I love the way they designed it to be as seamless as possible. So pretty much any team today using Selenium on any Java-based framework, let's say like TestNG, for instance, if it's based on that, based on JUnit, they should immediately be able to see the benefits of that AI-powered recommendations, looking at their scripts and saying, hey, these locators are unstable, you should have a wait here and this and that. I mean, even on stuff that's pre-existing, right? Without any changes to their script in most cases. And then from that point on, immediately you bring the non-technical testers to the process, like I said, with the recording too. So that's another way they can benefit, because now Selenic will be helping them generate automation much faster. Even if it's like a process where a non-technical business analyst, for example, records and sends that to an automation person, or if the automation person themselves that's doing it and creating the automation right on their desktops. But I mean, it should be very, very straightforward. And usually you should see an impact there on test creation 3 to 5 times compared to manually coding everything.
That was interesting. Thank you, Renato, for your answer. Moving forward, I have a very interesting question come here, and I'm sure our audience would like to get an answer from both of you. The question is, what are some common misconceptions teams might have about using AI in test automation, and how does Selenic address those? You both can decide who wants to go first. Over to
Praveen, you want to start?
Yes, Renato. That's a common question that I keep answering and talking to most of my team in day-to-day life, because AI is everywhere, and we know, and we talk, we read, we see, and we unknowingly use AI in multiple ways. But precisely when it comes to the test automation, there are a couple misconceptions a lot of the team carry in their mind. The first misconception that I would call it out is AI is not that easy. AI is so tricky to manage or so tricky to implement, but in reality, it's not the case. AI is easy to implement when we have a Selenic kind of a product where whatever the intelligence that you want to bring into your test automation, Selenic already had certain elements in place which can help you in implement in a seamless way. And more importantly, you don't need to be that technology oriented savvy person. It can be seamlessly integrated. Second misconception that most of the today's world carry is AI is going to replace human testers. No, AI is not going to replace the human testers, but in turn, AI is going to help you in fastering your job, excelling your job, and ensuring your test coverage is at most to the higher expectations. But yes, if you are doing a repetitive job and not improvising on it, yes, definitely AI is going to replace the human testers. So it's in our hands to see whether are we utilizing the AI and making our job better, using AI, making our learnings improvise and meeting the latest trends technologies, or we want to let our job done by the AI. So it's an option for the testers or automation engineers to do that. Second, moving on, also there's a misconception that implementing AI will increase my overall cycle time. No, AI actually helps you in reducing your overall execution time by self-healing, by handling dynamic flakiness and all those issues. If you consider a scenario where you are running your automation suite and your web pages are not responding on time, and your wait time is over, and you go and see that test has been failed, and you have to spend some couple hours to dig into and then see why the test has failed. Is it because of the API service is down? Is it because of the element has not loaded within the time? And again, you have to go and change on it. Next run you make it, the element could load faster. And so Renato was also mentioning it. So browser to browser, there is some latency that is going to happen. So you don't need to dig into such a deeper level where it can be easily handled by AI. The next misconception a lot of people carry is like, by integrating AI with my automation suite, it increases the overall execution time. In fact, you might see a slight difference on it, but it's not actually the increase in execution time. It is actually helping you, giving the fastest results, calculating your manual intervention of fixing those issues versus the kind of time that has taken to yield you by fixing this internally. So those calculations, if you see, yes, definitely the execution time that with Selenic AI is much faster. And as we talked about right from the conversation, that Selenic can handle flakiness, Selenic can handle dynamic issues fixing. It also helps you in predictive management, meaning as the Selenic keeps learning on run basis, it understands and it predicts you that, okay, in the next run, because of the frequent failures of it, it cautious you that, hey, your services might can go wrong, or it can be brought down, or there is a possibility that your locators are taking longer time in the past, and please be cautious on having it. So it gives you a kind of a predictive analysis report. Having all integration, the more importantly that the testers need to know is AI is going to help you in your effective test coverage. Meaning, as a human brain, you might be analyzing the requirement and you write your test cases. But when you apply the same requirement to your AI-based tools, it gives you much more effective coverage, covering your domain, covering your edge cases, implementing the test strategies like your boundary value analysis and equivalence partitioning. So a lot of testers just confine their narrow mind and say, hey, this is what the requirement is and these are the test cases. But they tend to miss a lot of other edge cases where there is a possibility that the test can break in the future. Having covered right in the initial days can help you in a better results on it.
Very good, Praveen. I mean, I think these are some great points. I'd like to add a few things to that, if you allow me. It's I think if we're talking misconceptions, right? One of them is that AI is like this big tent, and there's a lot of things that are under the definition of AI. And of course, nowadays the most popular are the LLMs like OpenAI, Meta AI, Gemini, and so on and so forth. And so people, when they hear AI, I think most people now are conditioned to think, oh, okay, there's a big AI somewhere. And now all my script and my application and my information is being sent over the internet to that AI somewhere. And I have concerns about that. So here we're not talking about LLM, which is a type of AI. Here we're talking about heuristics and predictive algorithms that run locally. So I think the first misconception I want to address is like with Selenic, there's nothing leaving the machine where the tests are running. It's local, right? To give an example, working again with a bank that had about 2,000 developers and testers on their team, over 250 small dev squads, as they call them, right? Working on subsystems and in small applications and large applications. And their concern was like, okay, so is my stuff now going to go out of the bank's network? And well, no, it's not. It's staying here. The other misconception they had a little bit when starting this path was, okay, does it mean I don't need to code anymore? Right? So that's another one I want to address. It's like, well, it's not like that. You still need the test automation engineers, but to look at how their flow was and how it is now, at first was like on a sprint, the dev team, the BAs would go and manually test the changes and deliver. Then a test automation center of excellence on the next sprint would be automating whatever they did on the previous sprint. So there's always this lag, right? And the way we improved the process was, okay, when you do the manual testing now, you record it. So now within the sprint, you're delivering the changes, the features that the business wants. You're also delivering at least a basic automation. Now, sure, the center of excellence can go and improve on that automation later, but you already have something that you can run as a regression right the next day, right? So that was one change. I think two already. That it's not an LLM; it doesn't go out, and now you don't need to rely on it. It's not either here where like there's no code, because Selenium has code. You can't run away from that. but you're also not 100% dependent on a center of excellence. The other one, it's a little bit about what you already touched, right? The execution, where normally what I've been seeing on a few customers I've been closer with, it's failure rates on their pipeline execution of about 30-40% with a traditional process where just pure Selenium and manual maintenance of everything. And then when we apply that self-healing, which relies on a few successful runs to get good, that's the other thing. That's the learning curve of AI. Another misconception is like, okay, I'm going to put the tool in and right tomorrow or today, it's all perfect. And it's not. Because there's a whole machine learning going on. There's a whole, oh, okay, now I have a baseline. Now I understand your application. That takes a few runs. So you won't see the gains right away. It's after a few runs where it learns the behavior of the application. It learns where the objects are, what their other properties are, other than the one you're using as locator, right? Then now it's able to self-heal. Now it's able to say, oh, okay, it's not green anymore, it's blue. It doesn't say checkout anymore. It says buy now or whatever the changes might be. And it still be able to find and execute the automation up to like a 90% success rate. So I just wanted to add a little bit to what you said before.
Thank you, Renato and Praveen, for not just clarifying the misconceptions about AI, but also educating our audience with those enlightening insights. We have covered some compelling topics, and I'm sure our attendees are eager to learn more into specific areas of interest. Now, we are transitioning into the QA portion of our session. This is your opportunity to engage directly with our experts. Whether you have questions about the complexities of Selenium automation or want to dig deeper to understand the transformative power of Selenic's AI-driven tools, please feel free to ask any questions you may have. I can see that our attendees have a lot of questions for our panel. Let us pick some. Okay. Yeah. So this first question is for you, Renato. What future developments or features can we expect from Selenic or similar AI-powered testing tools?
Okay, so yeah, there's a lot of things we've been doing and are planning to do in our overall test automation portfolio. So a few of them I want to share. It's something that we already delivered, actually. It's, for example, the ability to, when you're doing that web recording to generate your Selenium automation, we also offer the ability to like go shift left on your automation and create no code API test automation from the same recording. So it's like, as you're generating the web UI automation on Selenium, you can also generate a API layer, front-end API layer test automation on Parasoft SOA test. So that's a kind of 2-for-1 that we already delivered. There are things we're doing now. I mentioned LLMs before. So of course, we're also taking advantage of that for our customers who want to enable their teams to connect to LLMs, be them external or locally hosted. As long as it's like OpenAI, Azure AI compatible, we're pretty much giving them like an assistant that's coming soon, where they'll be able to ask the assistant, how do I, and fill in the blanks, and that LLM will be able to browse our whole documentation, online documentation, and tell them step by step, oh, you want to create a RabbitMQ API layer automation, or you want to virtualize an endpoint, here's how you do it. Step 1, 2, 3, 4, right? So these kind of smart assistants that can save people time from reading documentation, because we know everybody loves to read documentation, right? So these are some of the things we're doing. For developers, we also have some AI-powered tools writing their IDEs, where we can scan their code as they write, as they modify it, and say, hey, you know, like that code, the way you wrote it, it's not secure. You might be breaching, let's say, OWASP rule about not exposing sensitive data, for example. And not only we can show them what the rule is, but if the LLM connection is open, we can actually suggest a refactoring of the code that will make it compliant with coding in a secure way. So, I mean, these are just some things we're doing on that aspect. I don't want to go on and on, but I could be going on and on here for 30 more minutes.
Thank you, Renato, not just for answering the question, but also sharing Parasoft's vision for future AI-powered testing developments. Here's the second question. In your opinion, what's the most exciting thing about the intersection of AI and test automation today? I guess any one of you can answer. Praveen, would you like to go first?
Yes, Shafali. I think this is a very good, interesting question, and again, one of my favorite one. A lot of automation team have built in their custom frameworks, and they sell to the customers with all the unique benefits and selling parameters. However, customers and a lot of the latest trends that everywhere you go, there's a buzzword called AI. Now, the first and foremost question that comes is, hey, what is the AI element that is integrated in your automation framework? What kind of AI solutions that your framework or your automation solution can bring onto the place? So if we don't have answer to this, then there is a possibility that the customer might be opting for a different vendor. However, at Moditech, what we have done, and just wanted to touch base with an example, says our framework has AI elements integrated to it. Right from your API, where we talked about self-healing capabilities of Selenium, we also have a kind of API self-healing mechanism, number one. Number two, even we have integrated the kind of process where your test case generation is also kind of AI driven, because we wanted to have an effective test coverage, meaning whatever the requirement the customer has, we need to ensure that the end-to-end coverage is maintained right from the domain perspective, right from your edge cases and everything. More importantly, handling the TDM, test data management, is critical for any of your automation projects. So based on your test coverages, test scenarios, the data has to be in place for your seamless execution of it. And a lot of your test fails because of your insufficient data or maybe of incorrect data. And your testing is also not complete when it comes to your test data. The third important that I want to touch base upon is your predictive and prescriptive management. So a lot of people have their own mechanism in predicting, hey, if I touch this particular module, it's going to impact the other two modules. It all comes by virtue of your experience. So if a new team member joins the team, he or she doesn't have the background of it. All that they have to go is make a trial run and then see, hey, I touched this piece of code and then this has broken up. But having AI-based solutions, which are kind of a predictive management, can help you. Hey, by touching this particular module, there is a history that says that so and so functionalities have been modified and has been updated. So there is a clear direction given to your developers as well as the automation team, wherein the focus can be completely on the kind of areas where it going to fail, and it overall improves your optimization. Last but not the least, we have NLP-based AI tools wherein you just provide your requirements, it generates the test cases, it generates your piece of code as well. So when AI is trying to jumpstart your overall processes, so there's no possibility of you going on a step-by-step or a baby-step manner and say, hey, I can do all these things. The high time is have AI implemented wherever it's possible, either in your decision making or your design or your development or your execution or your reporting. Everywhere there is an AI. So Selenic fulfills to the maximum extent of these AI elements when it comes to the Selenium test automation. And I would urge everyone to try it out, the kind of choice that you have, more importantly on AI-based solutions.
Yeah, I think it also opens a few other things. Like when we look at AI and test automation, right? It's the first one, it opens up a new career path. I mean, if you look for business analysts or manual testers who don't know how to write code, but could be interested in a career as a test automation person, I mean, it gives them a nice slope to build up the skills from like just the recording, and now you have generated code to now, hey, maybe I can try to edit a few things on that code on my own, or learn from the recommendations. Oh, these are the kinds of changes the tool is making for me, like Selenic's making for me. And now, it's okay, it's going. this way, it's going that way, it's getting better, it's getting more stable, right? So I think it opens a new career path for them if they want to become test automation engineers. For test automation engineers, it frees up time, right? From tedious, very tedious, repetitive tasks like finding locators on web pages one by one, to just now actually working on more sophisticated automation. So also becoming more senior in their roles. And in the end, organizations should be fully behind this, because for them, what it does is like frees up gobs and gobs of hours that they would have people spending on basic tasks, repetitive tasks, which now can be reallocated to delivering more value to the business, or breaking that barrier where many organizations get stuck at 30-40% automation because they can't do anymore, because now everybody's busy maintaining the automation they already created before. Now they can get past that in an economical manner that makes sense for the organization, for the team, and delivers quality at reasonable cost.
Thank you, Renato and Praveen, for those enriching answers to the attendee questions. Before closing the forum, I request the end note of the session by both of our panelists. Would you like to share your experience, Praveen, Renato?
Yes, definitely. First of all, I thank each one of you for sparing your valuable time, be it in your morning or late hours, and then be active participant for this chat. The need of the hour is AI. So in whatever the manner you can bring in AI into your workspace, that's really going to help you, boost you. And I would always recommend to explore more on AI-based tools. The kind of misconception that you carry, AI is tough to learn. No, AI is easy and quick to learn and implement, and you see faster results. And as Renato was mentioning, you can have your career path laid out, and you can see the wonders can be made out of it.
Thanks, Praveen.
Yeah, no, I just want to thank everyone. And it was a very good conversation here today. I enjoyed the chat. I want to thank folks who participated, sent questions. I know we didn't address them all. I don't know if we have time for more questions. Shefali, what do you think?
Sure.
Yeah, okay. Just because there was a nice question there about how does Selenic differentiate between actual defects and variations in the automation? And I think this is where the human element still comes in very importantly. I mean, we will highlight in the report things that have been self-healed, like I said, with screenshots and stacks and details and messages and whatnot. But that's where still AIs are not at the level where they can make decisions for us. They'll give you the evidence, right? But then it still needs a person to go in, look at the results and say, was this expected? Is the application working as intended? So it doesn't take from the human element there, right? Or the person who knows the business flow, the process that the application should be automating there. But other than that, I'm sorry, I just wanted to address that one question. And just appreciate the opportunity to be here today and talk to you guys.
So one last point to add on top of your Renato. As we train the AI models, I think, yeah, the day would definitely come, it supersedes our thought process there, because it's constantly learning from what we are actually doing it, and it helps, and it also regains what it's supposed to be done. So it's a hands of the people how to effectively utilize AI.
Yeah, true.
Thanks again, Praveen and Renato. Well, we have tried answering post questions, but you can always reach out to Moritech Inquiry team with more questions or more insights and details. You just need to email to inquiry@moritech.com. You'll see a QR code displayed on your screen. Simply scan it to connect with us on social media. Follow us to keep up with the latest updates. Thank you for giving us your time and attending today's session. Do not forget to fill out the feedback form because your observations help us getting better every time. Have a great day or evening.
Thanks, everyone.